This is the Troll Patrol, live with JustinFREAKIN.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol live. It's a freaking Wednesday. Good evening. Welcome. News be doing stupid shit. I ain't high enough for it. Was able to go to the weed store this morning. Me feel English? That's impossible. What's up, Tadpole? What me worry? That's from something. I also think it's a Simpsons reference. Things just, they're falling apart around here. I'm falling apart. The studio's falling apart. Oh, that feels good. I looked at the weather and I was like, curious, sir. You want to go to the pot store this morning? I guess you did. Because we did. JFK files. The FBI has found thousands of new files. Just found them. There was a grenade attack in France that killed 13 people. Got an update on that Kansas City reporter that died covering the Super Bowl in New Orleans. We're going to check in with our favorite cop killer, Karen Reed. A video shows a flight attendant punching a passenger that was attacking a female on the flight. The ex-Illinois House Speaker partially convicted. Convicted on like a dozen of the charges he was facing. Got off on about 7, I think. Don't trust my numbers yet. Memory's a little fuzzy. I smoke a lot of pot. Good evening. Welcome to the Troll Patrol Live. It's a freaking Wednesday. Good evening. Welcome to the Troll Patrol. Oh, sorry. The very first Doge committee hearing was held today. Republicans have unveiled their budget plan as we are barreling towards a shutdown about a month from now. Bernie Sanders is out in front of the Department of Education. Representative Cesar says that the the inspector generals that were fired by Trump and Musk and the Doge committee, they were investigating Trump companies, Elon companies. They're just investigating everybody out here. I'm not high enough for this shit. Cardi B is pissed off at Trump. We're going to talk about why Mitch McConnell did not vote to confirm Tulsi Gabbard, all that and a lot freaking more tonight on the Troll Patrol Live. Good evening, Curiouser. Welcome in. Here's your meme of the day. Just taking this to its eventual conclusion. The Gulf of Pizza Hut. Nobody outgulfs the hut. Anonymously. Get out Pizza the Gulf. You know it's only a matter of time where they start selling naming rights. They're going to treat national landmarks like they were, sports arenas. It's coming. Do you know how you know I won the debate last night? Because I made a video about it that you can go to YouTube and watch the entire interaction. I made a short about it, and you can't go and see anything on his YouTube or his Twitch. If you wanted to watch the interaction, the only way you can watch it is to come to my channel. And that's pretty much all the debates I've had with right-wingers. The gulp of cum. I think you just got cum on the brain. Good Lord, it's too early for this.
You live in sexual anarchy?
Not high enough. Well, you said you've been having nightmares. I just woke up from a nap. I feel like I napped, woke up, ate, and then napped again. I feel like I took a 2-hour nap at like noon, got up, ate, did some more things, and then took like a half-hour nap. I'm weird sleep schedule right now. I don't know what I'm doing. That's why I'm like verklempt. Bamboozled. So like I don't know if I'm coming or going. Oh. Mr. Spronk. I'm going to do my best to put out a fantastic news program for you. Your poor Curiouser has been having nightmares. I've been telling her, like, it's because she's not sleeping hard enough. She's not getting into that REM sleep. I don't know how you fix that. I had all 3 cats on me. It's goddamn cold around here. Lenny, good evening. I was like, I should have popped into your chat and been like, good evening from south of Washington, D.C. That's not the closest metropolitan area, but I think that sounds better than like south of Richmond or south of Roanoke. If they do a lobotomy on you, you're gonna find out you got cum on the brain, and that's what's causing your nightmares. There's just like a wad of cum stuck up here. I'm sorry I didn't make it in sooner. I was up at, that's what we were talking about. I've got a weird sleep pattern right now because I woke up early to go to the pot store. So after Curiouser left, that's when I popped on your stream. I'm like, oh shit. Let me check and see if Lenny's on. I didn't say you had cum in your vagina. I said you had cum in your brain. That there's a literal wad of cum. Like a tumor inside your head. Look, I'm going to shut up now. We're going to find out what that news be doing. Because I'm not doing good with the banter. This has been like the worst pre-show banter ever. Mox, good evening. I woke up early to go to the pot store. It's a wild statement. Calcified cum tumor. Oh my god. Calcified cum tumor is kind of what you would call Donald Trump. That's a good name for him. Trump talked to the media about conversations with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Long time, over an hour this morning. I also had with President Zelensky a very good call after that.
PB girl, god damn it.
Way to getting peace.
Thanks, Mox.
President Putin wants peace, and President Zelensky wants peace, and I want peace. I just want to see people stop getting killed.
I just want a peace.
Far away from that particular war, but that's a vicious war. Probably 1.5 million soldiers killed in a short period of time. I've never seen anything. I have pictures that are, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe what you have to look at. Young, beautiful soldiers that are just being decimated. And it would be nice to end it.
Young, beautiful soldiers.
But we had a very good talk with, people didn't really know what President Putin's thoughts were, but I think I can say with great confidence he wants to see it ended also. That's good. And we're going to work toward getting it ended and as fast as possible. It's a horrible situation going over. It's flat land, and the bullet goes off, and the only thing it can hit is a body, a human body, a young human body. And they're losing just tremendous numbers of mostly soldiers. Just the
Mostly soldiers.
Towns have been largely demolished. It's a shame what's happened to that country. It would have never happened if I were president. That I can tell you. Would have never happened. It's to look at that. And October 7th would have never happened either, by the way, Middle East. But we'll get it. I think we'll get it.
I condemn his statement.
We're going to be meeting. Actually, tomorrow they're meeting in Munich, as you know, and we're going to have some other meetings. And I'll be dealing with President Putin largely on the phone, and we ultimately expect to meet. In fact, we expect that he'll come here, and I'll go there, and we're going to meet also probably in Saudi Arabia the first time. We'll meet in Saudi Arabia, see if we can get something done. But we want to end that war. That war is a disaster. It's a really bloody, horrible war.
Bloody horrible.
Saudi Arabia, the first meeting will happen.
I think so. We think we're going to probably meet in Saudi Arabia the first meeting. Hasn't been set, but not too distant future. We both understand, we know the Crown Prince, and I think it'd be a very good place to meet.
So it sounds like that would just be a meeting between you and Putin and perhaps the Crown Prince, but not President Zelensky?
Probably we'll have a first meeting, and then we'll see what we can do about the second meeting.
We'll see what we can do.
What about Ukraine?
Did you commit to go to Ukraine?
No, I haven't. I haven't committed to go to Ukraine. I would think about going. Yeah, I'd think about it. No problem.
Today, Mr.
No problem.
That if they receive your vision, what is your plan to end this war? Like today, Secretary.
Well, I'm not going to tell you my plan. I can just tell you we've made a lot of progress. This should have been done by Biden, not by me, because this has been going on for now a long time, years, and it should have been done by Biden. Just like the young gentleman that I brought home yesterday after 2 weeks. We worked on it for 2 weeks. He was a fine man, and he was in there for 3.5, almost 4 years.
Fine man.
And they weren't able to do a thing, and I got him out. And as you know, I didn't pay $6 billion. I didn't pay anything. We did a trade, and we did a good job. We got him out in 2 weeks. It should have been out years ago. It really should have been out years ago.
Propose NATO membership for Ukraine?
I don't think it's practical to have it, personally. I know that our new Secretary of Defense, who's excellent, Pete, made a statement today saying that he thinks it's unlikely or impractical. I think probably that's true. I think long before President Putin, they said there's no way they'd allow that. This has been going on for many, many years. They've been saying that for a long time, that Ukraine cannot go into NATO, and I'm okay with that. I just want the war, whether they are.
Apparently, Rubio just said that to Hegseth told NATO Ukraine will not be entering NATO. This event earlier today in the Oval Office, once again, the AP White House correspondent denied entry because they refuse to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America.
Which White House official made the decision to bar the AP reporter from the Oval Office?
and the diplomatic reception room last night?
Well, first of all, let me just set the record straight. It is a privilege to cover this White House. It's a privilege to be the White House press secretary. And nobody has the right to go into the Oval Office and ask the President of the United States questions. That's an invitation that is given. We reserve the right to decide who gets to go into the Oval Office.
But isn't it retaliatory in nature is the argument, because the reason that the AP was barred, which they said was because they're not using the phrase Gulf of America, they're using Gulf of Mexico in line with their standards. And so the question here is this
Simba, good evening.
This White House will retaliate against reporters who don't use the language that you guys believe reporters should use? And how does that align with the First Amendment commitment that you were just talking about?
I was very upfront in my briefing on day one that if we feel that there are lies being pushed by outlets in this room, we are going to hold those lies accountable. And it is a fact that the body of water off the coast of Louisiana is called the Gulf of America. And I'm not sure why news outlets don't want to call it that, but that is what it is. The Secretary of Interior has made that the official designation in the geographical identification name server, and Apple has recognized that, Google has recognized that, pretty much every other outlet in this room has recognized that body of water as the Gulf of America, and it's very important to this administration that we get that right, not just for people here at home, but also for the rest of the world. Sure.
Wow. Well, once again, it is the Gulf of Pizza Hut. Just taking this to its eventual conclusion. Could possibly be the Gulf of Yum brands. That way you have Taco Bell, Pizza Hut. What's the other one? Long John Silver? Something like that. This reality is bananas. BANANAS. I don't like it. We slipped right into like techno-fascism really fast. It happened like in the last 5 years. Techno-feudalism. Yeah, that's what it is. Oh, it's KFC. Taco Bell, KFC. Pizza Hut. Drake, good evening. Earlier today, Tulsi Gabbard officially became your Director of National Intelligence. The only Republican vote against her was Mitch McConnell.
Hello, I'm Ed O'Keefe in Washington. Tonight on America Decides, peace goals. After almost 3 years of fighting between Russia and Ukraine, President Trump says late today he's working to end the war. Details on his conversations with both nations embroiled in that conflict and what happens next. Democrats on Doge. California Congressman Robert Garcia among those going after Elon Musk.
Mitch, this is what we're talking about
on
right
Doge.
now.
Their first hearing held today.
We know that he is leading a power grab.
I'm going to get to that.
But that the Senate should not consent when it believes that a candidate is unqualified. And in his view, he believed that Tulsi Gabbard was not qualified, not up to the task for serving as the Director of National Intelligence, because he believes that she has an alarming lapse in judgment, to use his words, as someone who would oversee the intelligence community, someone who prepares the president's daily presidential brief, that simply there were too many questions with regard to her posture and stance. And while she did answer senators' questions during that confirmation hearing a couple of weeks ago with respect to her views on Russia, the war with Ukraine, with respect to the visit she took to Syria when she was...
Oh my God, they got a map with the Gulf of America behind them.
Surveillance. Ultimately, we saw a number of Republican senators on that committee, even though they had some really sharp questions for her, ultimately fall in line, whether that was Senator Langford, whether that was Maine Senator Susan Collins, and others. They say, or said in their statements ahead of this vote, that they believe that she satisfied their questions and concerns, which is why they were comfortable with moving forward with her nomination, even though McConnell was a lone Republican who sided with Democrats in opposing her. The White House saying earlier today they were disappointed by McConnell's vote.
I guess they'll try to retaliate against Mitch, but what else can you do to the man? At this point, we're just kind of waiting for him to croak. The DOJ retaliating against New York State. The Attorney General freshly confirmed herself, announcing charges against the state of New York.
As we've been on the air, the Attorney General is announcing the Trump administration is now filing charges against the state of New York.
He just won re-election, Lenny. He's retiring, but that's in like 4 years.
New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens.
Media Winch, good evening.
It stops today. New York didn't listen. So now you're next.
So part of this immigration push from...
That sounds like she's trying to dom us. New York, you're out of line. So now mommy's got... Or maybe that's just me and my GOP mommy fetish.
Trump administration. But it comes as we're also seeing immigrant rights advocates led by the
can be my GOP
file their own suit asking a federal judge to require the Trump administration to give migrants detained at Guantanamo Bay, migrants including the ones you're seeing here, access to lawyers. So yet another lawsuit now against something that President Trump or his administration has done. And you've already seen the way that federal courts have slowed or stopped or held up in some capacity some of the other moves that the Trump administration has tried to take, setting up what could be a high-stakes showdown between the executive and judicial branches of government. President Trump, right before we came on the air, talking about that tonight. Watch.
I follow the courts. I have to follow the law. All it means is that we appeal. But that gives people time.
I follow the law, this guy said. This guy.
Time to cover their tracks.
I want to bring in Gabe Gutierrez, who looks like he's outside the West Wing of the White House now tonight. Gabe, and let's start with this lawsuit now that it is a civil suit, I believe, that the DOJ is filing against the state of New York. And really, it's kind of a microcosm of this clash that the Trump administration has had, that the president himself has had with the city of New York, the state of New York, as it relates to immigration now for a while.
Yeah, that's right, Hallie. Yes, greetings from a wet and rainy West Wing here outside the White House. But yeah, Attorney General Pam Bondi really, arguing that the Trump administration really trying to back up what it's been doing thus far, backing up Elon Musk and saying that that the administration is merely going by the will of the people. A lot of millions of people voted for Donald Trump, and we've heard the administration over and over again trying to make that case that, in their words, what they view as activist judges trying to get in the way of what this administration is doing. The Attorney General is not shy at all about saying that this could go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. And we expect that to play out not just in this case, Hallie, but in many of the other legal challenges, legal battles that we see playing out in Washington and across the country right now, Hallie.
We also heard Pam Bondi, again, the new AG, talk about Elon Musk and the lawsuits the administration is facing as we talk about these legal challenges here on some of the executive orders that Musk and his Doge group, Department of Government Efficiency, are tasked to carry out.
Yeah, that's right. And she says that she will back up Elon Musk and what the Department of Government Efficiency is doing. Of course, we heard from Elon Musk for the first time taking questions since President Trump took office right behind me here in the West Wing. And he was emphatic that this is a mandate that the Trump administration was given by the American people. So we've heard over and over again from the White House that they plan to fight this vigorously. And
that was indeed Grimes's kid. Apparently, she released a statement last night after I got off stream, calling it a publicity stunt, saying he was shamelessly parading the kid around. The kid was picking his nose the whole time. So the DOJ suing New York in retaliating against the press. That doesn't seem fascist to you, does it? Some legal scholars say Trump has created a constitutional crisis.
In the wake of President Trump's expansive executive actions, legal minds are weighing the question, is the nation currently facing a constitutional crisis? Well, Adam Liptak took up this issue in the pages of the New York Times this week. He covers the Supreme
Constitution
Court for the old great lady. And I am so thrilled you're here, Adam. We only have a few minutes, unfortunately. But I know you've been talking to scholars who say, yes, the president has, in fact, triggered a constitutional crisis. You say there's no fixed definition of one. But what exactly is it that makes you think that we've gotten to one? Or makes those experts believe we've gotten to one?
Yeah, no, what the professors are saying is that this blitz of executive orders and the 40 lawsuits they've given rise to indicate that the president is not only taking issue with individual statutes and being constrained by Congress, but believes that he has the primary role in the constitutional structure.
I punched this dude in the nose one time.
Congress, greater than the courts. And we're starting to have some serious evidence of that. That even with a Republican-controlled Congress, he wants to go it alone. He wants to be the boss of everybody.
One of the short-term tests of this might be if and when the issue of trying to undo birthright citizenship reaches the court. And you write that if that, in fact, gets to the high court, that might be the one they rule on fastest because it would be hardest for him to disobey. Explain that.
So I think the court is looking for a splashy occasion.
Also seems to be the most clear cut.
Their dominance and independence. And if they say birthright citizenship means what most people think it means, which is that if you're born in the United States, you become a citizen, it's kind of hard for President Trump to say, I disagree and I'm going to instruct every hospital administrator to track down the citizenship status of the parents of every newborn. It's just a procedural nightmare, and that makes it attractive to the court, which is not going to want to rule against President Trump in a case where it's easy for him to disobey, but would rather look for something where
Oregon gal, good evening.
You have the right to citizenship. The president is just as a logistical matter.
Thank you for the resub.
To disobey.
All right, Adam Liptak, who covers the Supreme Court with the New York Times. Apologies for having to cut it short, but we appreciate you being here. We hope you'll be back to talk about it as all of this.
Well, the question comes is now that they are disobeying legal orders, who's going to do something about it? Who's going to force them to obey? And I mean, you would send marshals after officials, but the marshals are under the executive branch. It's a conundrum for sure. Is it a crisis? Some scholars say yes. Cardi B pissed off at Trump. Apparently, he ruined her shoes? I love a good Cardi B rant, and that's what we got here. Tier 2, welcome in. Cardi is mad.
Because, you know, Donald Trump and he was at the Super Bowl today, and they was giving us a hard time. Oh my gosh, the Secret Service was not playing in that. The Secret Service was not playing to get in that stadium. Oh my God.
Eating chips and salsa while she's doing it.
So my shoe, can you bring me my shoe so I can show them how? There was a part that they stopped, what's that called?
Halftime show?
They stopped all the little carts and because Trump was there. Look how my shoes. Look at my shoes.
Those are awesome shoes.
Shoe cost me 3 bands. Oh, cousin Trump. Now I like him lesser.
Lesser.
Now I like him lesser. Because you ain't had to come to no damn Super Bowl. Up my shoe. Now I don't really like him.
Now, I don't know how...
Now he's going to have to...
How did her shoe get fucked up because of Trump?
Bring my uncle, grandma uncle, to come back. Because my uncle got deported. All right.
Wait, that was all there was to it? Her uncle got deported. She wants to bring her uncle back. I love her. I think she's amazing. Cardi B has a request for President Trump after blaming him for ruining her shoes. To make up for her ruined shoes, Cardi B asked for Trump to allow her uncle to return to the U.S. after claiming he'd been deported. While the president was sitting in the stands, he made an appearance on the Jumbotron as sections of the crowd broke into cheers, although there were some boos. He ended up leaving the football game early and was seen getting back on Air Force One more than 1 hour before the game finished. It was a blowout. To be fair, it was a fucking blowout. Missed the Eagles declare victory over the Chiefs with the final score of 40-22, and that doesn't even reflect how much of a runaway game it was. A White House spokesperson told The Independent that Trump had always planned to leave the event early and provide a copy of his schedule. She was eating chips and salsa while she was on stream. While she was on her Instagram Live. Clinically, good evening. Fired Instagrammers. I had a pretty good time. For the first half of the Super Bowl, I was on stream on Twitch, and we were listening to Kendrick Lamar. And fuck you, Clinically. Good to see you, my friend. We were listening to Kendrick Lamar, and I was putting on the commercials whenever they came on. And then, I was calling commentary, and I don't really watch football, so it was kind of funny, but also, I was doing a pretty decent job. So I had a good time, but that just kind of was impromptu happening. I didn't plan on that, but next year maybe I will, because I feel like maybe people would be into that kind of content, like counter-programming to the Super Bowl, but you still kind of want to know what's going on. Maybe you want to watch the halftime show, because that was my thing. I really wanted to watch the halftime show. Or otherwise, I would have just done a troll patrol like usual. Socialist Aunt, good evening. Some of the Instagram influencers who were fired by Trump. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. IG means something else. Inspector generals fired by Trump sue.
8 fired inspectors general are suing the Trump administration over what they are calling unlawful and unjustified termination. The lawsuit says the firings violate federal statutes meant to, quote, protect inspectors general from precisely this sort of interference with the discharge of their critical, nonpartisan oversight duties. President Trump fired more than a dozen of the independent watchdogs 4 days.
Oh, yeah, I think I said generals. I think I put the S. It's inspectors general is the plural. Punk Rock Octopus, welcome in.
Days into his second term. In her first press conference in her new role, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced a new lawsuit.
That's what I was asking. What happens when they
Hochul and others claiming the state ignored federal immigration laws. CBS News Homeland Security correspondent Nicole Skanga joins me now. Nicole, can you briefly remind us the purpose of the Inspector General and what legal argument they are making in their lawsuit?
Absolutely. Good to be with you, Lindsay. And this is a heavy lawsuit at that, 32 pages. And there's a dual-pronged legal argument here that the administration violated federal law. One, by requiring the White House to give Congress 30 days notice. And of course, that notice was not given, and also lacking a sort of substantial rationale for firings. The White House saying this was only part of the administration's changing priorities. One notable line in this filing
filing reads, quote, IGs must be watchdogs, not lapdogs. And it goes on to really speak to how this mass firing will have sent a message to IGs across the country that nonpartisanship and truth-telling will not be tolerated. It will have the effect of intimidating the workforce and thus their critical work for the American people. And to remind our viewers of what that critical work is.
I mean, this purge and purification, this is totally like out of the fascist playbook. Like, it's 100% loyalty to the regime, so buckle up, buggeroos.
Inspectors General really serve as police of waste, fraud, and abuse at departments across the federal bureaucracy. It's a post-Watergate sort of infrastructure that was stood up after that scandal during the Carter administration that conducts independent investigations and audits of federal spending and operations at so many critical departments. And in this sort of en masse firing that you mentioned on January 24th, just 4 days into the administration, there were a slew of inspectors general fired, including watchdogs of the State Department, the Department of Education, the Pentagon, the VA, and Health and Human Services, among others.
I see a lot of overlap in the agencies that Elon then went into gut. We have a government ethics official. I don't know if this is an IG. Just calls them a government's ethics official. Speaking out, they were one of the ones fired by Trump.
One of those recently let go by the Trump administration was a guy named David Heidema, person responsible for overseeing ethics for the entire federal government. Today, we spoke with him here in Washington and asked him how he found out he was being let go.
I received a short, to-the-point, two-sentence email from someone with the White House's Office of Presidential Personnel that essentially just said, on behalf of the president, he was informing me that I was removed from my position as director of OGE and thanking me for my service, and that was that.
I hear all the time about people who have gotten that kind of an email. What was your reaction when you read it?
I'd say the overall emotion is really one of great disappointment. You know, this job that I was appointed to is supposed to be a 5-year fixed term. So you kind of know going in that you will be serving across multiple administrations. So that was something I was considered. I had considered. I was committed for the 5 years. I was committed
to this dweeb
faith with any administration, including this one. I thought we were off to a good.
This is the exact kind of dweeb that you want overseeing the government. I don't want this dude fired.
Good start. I really loved our mission and our team, so it's really disappointment at that personal level.
There are now at least 8 inspectors general who were fired, a woman who was on the Merit Systems Protection Board, a handful of other people who are either suing or thinking about suing to get their jobs back, or to at least make the legal point that what the president did was illegal in removing them. Are you considering any legal action?
So this is all still so new and sudden for me. I really have no idea what's coming next, and I'm just starting to kind of turn my mind in that direction. So
he was like, I was doing my job so well, I had no idea anybody would come in and sack me. It never even crossed my mind.
I'm really not sure.
Okay.
I think it sort of underscores the point. The one comfort, right, is it doesn't appear to be personal. I'm in good company. And it really speaks, I think, to an effort to kind of dismantle all of the institutions across the government that are set up to serve as kind of an independent voice for integrity and for accountability.
Given this focus on officials like yourself who were holding what were traditionally nonpartisan positions and ousting them often late on a Friday night, where do you fall on that debate over whether it's a constitutional crisis or something else?
I can speak to my position, what happened to me, and the role of the Office of Government Ethics. You know, it was Congress that established OGE. It was in the wake of Watergate around the same time as the kind of modern IG establishment was created. And the whole notion and structure was to have an organization
I
still
slammed
within
the door on the
executive
set.
branch, but able to take a nonpartisan, non-politicized, matter-of-fact, by-the-book approach and be that voice of integrity where it's needed. And so I do think it's true that my removal from this position flies in the face of that vision of Congress. And in that sense, there is a problem in terms of honoring legislation and legislative intent.
Over the 4 years of the first Trump administration, there was a lot of concern about whether the guardrails would hold. You think they're going to hold over these 4 years?
I don't know, and I guess I will be watching from the sidelines now.
And then our news media is just like, do you think the guardrails will hold? As they were complicit in bringing him to power. This is just insane. Representative Cesar says that the fired IGs were actually investigating Elon Musk's companies.
The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Kassar.
This subcommittee is supposedly about looking into waste, fraud, and abuse. So I'd like to start talking about independent inspector generals who are supposed to be looking into waste, fraud, and abuse. Mr. Talkov, do you know how many inspector generals at agencies that were investigating Elon Musk's companies have been fired by the Trump-Musk administration?
No.
It is 5. Ms. Royal, the Inspector General of the Department of Labor had 17 open investigations into Tesla and SpaceX. Do you know what the Trump-Musk administration did to that Inspector General?
No.
They fired him, and I think y'all know. Mr. Whitson, the Inspector General of the Department of Transportation was investigating Tesla. Do you know what the Trump-Musk administration did to that Inspector General?
No.
They were fired.
Fired.
The Defense's Inspector General was looking into SpaceX. Mr. Hedler, do you know what the Trump-Musk administration did to that Inspector General?
I believe he was fired.
Thank you. I think everybody on the panel knows what the answer to these questions were. The Department of Agriculture Inspector General was investigating Musk's Neuralink. Mr. Talkov, now I'll ask you again under oath, do you know what Mr. Trump did to that Inspector General that was looking into one of Musk's companies?
This is
No.
Greg Kasser.
The Inspector General at the EPA
Cesar.
was repeatedly taking
Kasar?
on Tesla. Mr. Hedler, since it seems that you're answering the questions that everyone knows the
Congressman
answer
from
to,
Texas.
do you know what the Trump-Musk administration did to that Inspector General?
I believe he was also fired.
Also fired. At least 5 Inspector Generals that were looking into Elon Musk's companies were fired by the Trump-Musk
They didn't even need to phone a friend.
Generals who are independent, protected by law. They are the people that find the waste, fraud, and abuse and found many of the cases of waste, fraud, and abuse that have been brought up today, fired because they were looking into Elon Musk. At the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board, which is supposed to protect workers from getting their unions busted by folks like Elon Musk, made functionally broken by the so-called Department of Government Efficiency that really is the Department of Government Efficiency for Elon Musk, not for you. They are trying to shut down the Department of Education, the Department of Labor. You know what Elon Musk doesn't seem to be looking into? His own contracts. Again,
boom.
I'll ask you, Mr. Talkov, do you know how much money a day Mr. Musk will receive from the federal government for his contracts?
No.
The answer is $8 million a day. Just last year, Elon Musk was promised $3 billion from close to 100 contracts with the federal government. Ms. Royal, do you know how much the average person in this country who survives on Social Security, one of our seniors who's worked their entire life, about how much they have to survive on a day?
I do not.
$65 a day. We're not looking into Elon Musk's $8 million a day. This subcommittee, chaired by Marjorie Taylor Greene and the House Republicans, is looking into your grandmother's $65 a day. Let me be clear. I think we would all support taxpayer savings, look into money we might needlessly send to billionaires and big corporations, find taxpayer savings, and send it back to your hardworking family. But instead, what House Republicans and the Trump-Musk administration want to do is they want to look into your kids' lunch money, your kids' teacher's salary, into your grandparents' Social Security. They want to take that money and give it out in billionaire tax cuts, and they're talking about that in committee tomorrow, in Budget Committee tomorrow. They just released their plan. So let me be clear. When Republicans talk about government efficiency in this Congress, they're not looking into billionaires who don't pay their taxes. They're not looking into billionaires who get rich off of government contracts. They're not looking into
Paradigm shift. I
firing
think Holiday was just telling you, hey.
accountable. They're looking at cutting your public schools. They're going straight for your Social Security. They're coming straight for cancer research.
Nobody was calling you out.
Department of Education. They're not looking at big tech. They're
Not like Kassar is doing
people fund
Elon Musk right now.
If this committee were serious about rooting out waste from our federal government, then today's whole hearing would be about how Musk and Donald Trump are firing the independent watchdogs who've done this work for decades. Instead, my Republican colleagues' actual goal on this committee is to distract from Trump and from Musk's corrupt war.
Oh, and I love you for that paradigm
This will not be a
shift.
subcommittee dedicated to making government
Why shout paradigm shift out?
people. It's about helping Elon Musk and Donald Trump be as efficient as possible in robbing our government and handing out our government services to the rich. So this seems that this subcommittee is just
The
going to
gentleman's
be like
time
the
has
agency it's named
expired.
after.
The gentleman's
a sham,
time has expired.
a total sham.
I was just talking with Jason Society about doing another Stoner cast. I couldn't do it whatever Saturday it was. It was the Rumble. He wanted to do it. I was like, oh, no, that's wrestling. We totally need to get on that. You heard Chairwoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of the Doge Committee. This was her going off during that committee hearing today.
Not only are we $36 trillion in debt, but the compounding interest on our debt is also growing out of control. Even if we decided to defund the entire federal government, we cannot escape our debt and the compounding interest owed on our debt, which grows bigger and bigger every year. In 2025, interest payments are projected to be $952 billion, which is more than our entire military budget. In 2026, it will be $1 trillion. And by 2035, $1.8 trillion. Over the next decade, total interest payments are projected to be $13.8 trillion. These interest payments don't serve a single American. They don't build a bridge, a road, provide disaster relief, or fund a single part of the behemoth that is the federal government. These interest payments pay our masters who own our debt, and the American people are in debt slavery to everyone who owns our debt. Our crippling national debt and massively growing interest on our debt will destroy us. Not destroy one political party or the other, it will destroy all of us together. It drives inflation, making life unaffordable for Americans struggling to financially survive. It is crippling small businesses struggling to be successful. Our massively growing debt and interest are the chains and shackles harnessed to every American and their children and every generation to come. But first, let us be brutally honest about how this massive debt came to be in the first place. It came from Congress and from elected presidential administrations. And I believe enslaving our nation in debt is one of the biggest betrayals against the American people by its own elected government. The American people's anger over this betrayal is what gave birth to the concept.
She's better off the cuff.
The Department of Government Efficiency.
She's not good when she's reading off the teleprompter.
Doge became a major part of President Trump's campaign and led to his overwhelming victory in November. Every day, Americans go to work. They run businesses.
I can't fap to this.
They have to earn their paycheck. No one guarantees
We had to get
it.
high then.
And if they don't
One
do
up,
a
tip
good
one
job,
back.
they get fired. They also have to pay their bills, credit card debts, balance their checkbooks, and scrap and save every penny they can in order to plan for that rainy day and hopefully retirement one day. Private businesses only survive on hard-earned income.
She's all like monotone and no inflection.
So well that their customers pay them for the services and products they consume. If that business fails, its employees lose their jobs and paychecks, and the owners lose their business and everything they risked along with it. Many go bankrupt in this process and lose everything. No one bails them out. They only survive by excellent customer service and smart financial management. This is the real world that most Americans
That is not the real world.
and survive in every day. This is the pursuit of happiness, and this is how you pursue the American dream. However, the federal government, government employees, and unelected bureaucrats do not live by the same rules as the great American people and private businesses. The federal government's income is the American people's hard-earned tax dollars.
Yeah, that's how
Their
government
literal
works.
blood, sweat, and tears. And taxes are collected by law at gunpoint. Don't pay your taxes and you go to jail.
Oh my God, this bullshit.
Does not have to provide excellent customer service to earn its income. It takes your money whether you like it or not. And federal employees receive their paycheck no matter what.
That's not true at all.
Receive their benefits or not, whether your mail shows up or not, and whether your tax dollars are used to help Americans in need or are sent to foreign countries, for foreign people, for foreign causes. No matter how bad the federal government fails the American people, it still takes your money. It still pays its own federal employees, and it never, ever goes out of business. There are no consequences for bad customer service, total failure, and for enslaving the American people against their will and the ever.
Ask and you shall receive, anonymously.
I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you the
Mr.
blowjob
Sprong's
of your
into it.
life. Then I want you inside of me.
Mr. Sprong's like, I'm so hot for Marjorie Taylor Greene. She wanted some brutal honesty. I think I've got just the person to give her some brutal honesty. This is Representative Jasmine Crockett.
Buddy.
I now recognize the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Crockett, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Talcove, I'm just going to go ahead and pick up where you left off really quickly. Just to be clear, the upgrades that you're talking about as it relates to our data processes, these aren't things that would be free, are they? They would
Georgie, good evening.
Cost some kind of money. Not looking for a number, but they will cost, correct?
Some are free and some would cost money.
Okay. All right. So I just want to leave it there because we've had a number of these hearings. So I do want to be clear, before the Trump administration came in, this committee did exist in the form of the Oversight Committee, and our task is to root out waste, fraud, and abuse. In that vein, we had a number of hearings, at least last
Georgie's here. We can get high. Light one up, tip one back.
And we dealt with improper payments. And interestingly enough, our chairwoman, who is so passionate about this today, she missed every single one of those improper payment hearings. But just to be clear, I was there, so I don't want anyone to believe that Democrats just come to work and don't plan to do work. In fact, I'm trying to figure out exactly what it is that the Republicans believe our job is, because right now they have relinquished their constitutional duties over to an unelected bureaucrat, someone who no one went out to vote for. And absolutely, he is occupying the Oval Office, as we saw yesterday. And that is a first for me, to see someone occupying the Oval Office.
Mr. Sprong, that is not a polite question to ask a woman.
To the Oval Office and actually answering more questions than the person that allegedly got elected. But for whatever reason, this is the first time we're having a Doge subcommittee hearing, and that guy's not here. Instead, we have y'all. So I do want to thank you for coming. But I will say this. It's also
I've learned, working in TV for as long as I have, that most people's hair isn't real. And that includes men that are on camera. Elon Musk is a great example.
In the first few days of Doge existing, we know that they are trying to get rid of the Department of Education, USAID, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They're laying off FAA workers. They are going after the FDA, the CDC, the HHS, the FBI agents, and they're talking about getting rid of FEMA. And they brought y'all in. And I am going to say that I actually was shocked that there was only one person that seemed like he was an overt Trumper as you laid out your opening remarks, because I anticipated that at least one of y'all would say, yes, what Elon is doing is exactly what we would prescribe. But instead, I will applaud you because you actually were focused. You talked about what the American people are looking for us to do. We've actually consistently on this side of the aisle promoted this idea of making investments into technology so that we can do things such as, say, look at the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense that takes up approximately 50% of our discretionary income. Or our discretionary spending, approximately 50% goes to Department of Defense. Department of Defense has not been able to pass an audit in the last 6 audits, and we're not talking about pennies. I understand that we want everything to be perfect, and if we could get all waste, fraud, and abuse out, that would be fantastic. But let me talk about the big numbers. The big numbers are on that side. When we look at, say, our entire workforce, our federal workforce, as we're trying to somehow fire all of them, they don't even make up a total of 5%. It's even less than that when we look at our budget. But let's talk about...
That's not the reason they're firing them anyway.
That just happens to be the same side of the ledger that Mr. Musk gets the vast majority of his money from. In fact, at the same time that they were unlawfully, and we will stay in court, because on this side, we believe in law and order. We believe in, a number of us are actually lawyers, but nevertheless, we understand the Constitution.
God damn.
That as well. And so there's things such as, impoundment, right? Because as Mr. Whitson said, he said, we need to return the power of the purse to Congress. It never left. According to the Constitution, that's where it's at. Now, I know that people are confused right now because for whatever reason, we had a guy that went in, and you talk about people invading our data. Listen, people said that they were upset about TikTok, but I'm upset about the guy that runs Twitter, who for sure is doing nefarious things, because I don't understand, if you are trying to conduct audits and figure out where the waste, fraud, and abuse is, I don't know why you would go to some tech guy. In fact, it was only techies that were sitting there at inauguration. We didn't have auditors. I would welcome auditors to come in and do forensic audits. In fact, he sat there in the Oval Office yesterday and he admitted that he was lying, and he was using his propaganda machine to do it when he said that we sent millions of dollars to Gaza for condoms. That was a lie. So let me tell you something.
The gentlelady's time has expired.
It's time for
the
us
gentlelady's
to do our
time has
job
expired.
and rein in this rogue actor known
The gentlelady's
as
time has expired.
Boom. I like it when Congress is in session. Holy shit. I'm so glad that on this committee they have Democrats that, play well on TV, have good clips that will go viral and shit. Republicans have released their plans on the budget. I haven't played an NBC clip in a while.
House Republicans have released their long-promised budget outline as they seek to fulfill President Trump's agenda while cutting both the deficit and taxes. But it remains unclear whether the plan will achieve those goals or if it even has the votes. Congressional correspondent Lisa Desjardins is here with the latest. Good to see you, Lisa. We'll get into the details in a moment, but just a quick reminder, why does all this matter?
Lisa.
What Republicans do or don't do will affect nearly every American taxpayer. It will also determine for potentially a decade who the winners or losers are in this economy. Corporations, what happens to them? What about the poor? And it will also tell us, is Congress ever going to be serious about bringing down the deficit? All of that is at stake here.
I vote that that's Lisa's
so now
real
to
hair.
the proposal. Just walk us through it. There's been a lot of buildup and debate. What exactly are House Republicans proposing?
All right, we've got some numbers, so I'm putting my glasses here. But first of all, I want to say this hasn't been easy, but Republicans finally cobbled this together today. It is a framework. It is a sweeping plan. At the start,
I watched C-SPAN when I was a kid.
Outline for tax cuts, $4.5 trillion worth of tax cuts over 10 years. Spending cuts somewhere between $1.5 and $2 trillion for the border and for ICE.
I was a weirdo.
Deportations, $300 billion. That would be in effect almost immediately. Now, all of this, you put that together, Amna, and it would end up increasing the deficit by most estimates of $3 trillion. Republicans, there's an asterisk there, dispute that because they say the economy will make up for that. We're going to get into all that context, I think, as we get down the road. But the key part here is that Republicans are doing major tax cuts and also major spending cuts. One of the programs that would be most on the chopping block potentially for spending cuts is Medicaid. Now, that is the 72 million person program in the United States. Republicans say it's full of waste and fraud, that they want more work requirements. Democrats say no. But Speaker Johnson says, even if that's controversial,
we should expand Medicaid. We should expand Medicare for all.
Saying today that he remains focused on working through the process to deliver on promises made to the American people. There's still much work to be done, but we're starting on the right path. Now, that's to say also this agreement isn't entirely cemented. At the same time, Democrats are pushing back against this plan. They're saying it would hurt working and middle-class Americans.
None of this is going to help the pain that
Veronica
Americans
Escobar
are feeling when they go to the grocery store or when they fill up at the pump or when they try to save for a house or when they pay their rent. All of it is a sham, and it's a way to make sure that the rich get richer.
But of course, Republicans control the House and the Senate. Whether this succeeds or fails will be entirely up to them.
So this is the proposal from House Republicans. Senate Republicans seem to be moving in a different direction. What's happening there, and is that a sign of bigger problems ahead?
Again, something I think we'll get into more in the weeks ahead, but this is all to do with a process called budget reconciliation, which is essentially a way to get around the Senate's 60-vote requirement. Republicans don't have 60 votes in the Senate. They do have 53. So they're using this process as a shortcut. Now, when you do that, it's an elaborate series of steps. Both House and Senate must agree on a budget. So Senate Budget Chairman Lindsey Graham thinks the House is taking too long. And so he moved forward today with a separate plan that would only focus on the border portion, that border detention ICE portion of it. And he explained to reporters yesterday why he thought this was necessary.
I heard Tom Holman, pretty tough guy, begging us.
Tough guy.
I beg you to give me more resources. I heard Russ Vogt, the OMB guy, say, ICE is out of money. All I can tell my House colleagues, whatever you need to do to get the one beautiful bill, do it. Do it now. You have my blessing, you have my support. But if we can't do it quickly, we need to go to Plan B.
One beautiful bill.
And the borders are. Now, why is he nervous?
Is he talking like Trump on purpose? Battle opossum.
Look at the House balance of power right now. Republicans barely have a majority there. They really just can't afford too many votes. So he says, let's take something that's an easy win here. We'll see how this works out.
Meanwhile, in the Senate, a win for President Trump. His pick to be the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, was confirmed and later sworn in. What should we know about her and the other nominations in process?
Former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard sworn in just a short while ago. She passed through the Senate with just one Republican voting no. That was former Republican leader Mitch McConnell. He wrote a statement saying that he was very concerned that Tulsi Gabbard would not state clearly that Vladimir Putin is behind.
With their map of Gulf of America.
Real risk if the intelligence chief doesn't acknowledge that. He said he does hope she rises in his views to the responsibilities of the job. But otherwise, all the Republicans signed on board. And we are watching Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who passed a key procedural vote today with every Republican backing him. His final vote, we don't know how that will go, but he's well on the way to confirmation. We expect that tomorrow.
Lisa Desjardins, thank you.
Insane. Old Lady Graham had a message for Republicans in the House earlier today. This was the Senate Budget Committee. Lindsey laying down the law about what they need to be doing.
So, we're here to pass a budget resolution bill that would allow $175 billion to be spent to secure our border, $150 billion to be spent to increase our military capability, about $20 billion, I think, for the Coast Guard. And we're going to instruct the appropriate committees to do that. And we're going to instruct other committees to find offsets that are reconciliation compliant.
So more money for military shit.
This, not Social Security. And the reason we're doing that is there's been a bit of debate between the House and the Senate about what to do and why. The reason I want to start, and I want to start now, is because there's a sense of urgency about the immigration plan of President Trump in this regard. 87% of the people, according to the New York Times, support deporting immigrants who are here illegally.
I know,
and
it's
have criminal
crazy.
records. 87%. 65% support deporting immigrants who are here illegally and arrived over the last 4 years. 55% support deporting all immigrants who are here illegally. And that's sort of where the public is. The problem we have now is that ICE is running out of money. And to my colleagues in the House, I hope you can pass one big, beautiful bill.
They're all saying it.
Of President Trump and what we've been promising to do as a party. But we got to move on this issue.
Is that not scary?
Yesterday, that
one big, beautiful bill.
Are, for lack of a better word, there are 300,000 children missing in this country. And if we get more money, we can find them quicker. And only God knows what they're going through. We need to finish the wall. Bed space is in short supply, so when we apprehend somebody, they just can't be deported right then on the spot. They have to be housed, and there's a legal process to go through. And we're running out of bed space, so we
Port Belly is awesome.
Detention space, and we need more ICE agents to make this happen. So what's happened here is that we're dealing with 4 years, in my view, of irresponsible immigration policy. For the last 4 years, people have been waved through the country, into the country, violating the parole statute. Lake and Riley.
Morning.
The young lady that was murdered in
Oh
Georgia.
my God, this shit again.
The man convicted of killing her was in custody and was paroled because lack of detention space in Texas. That's not a legitimate reason to parole someone under our law. You can parole people for two reasons. A special need they offer to our country.
Yeah, I feel like the twist in God of War would be ruined for you by playing Ragnarok.
We ran campaigns in 2024 about what to do on immigration, and our party said we were going to deport criminals. We're going to finish the wall.
A magnificent
We're going to
game.
give ICE the tools they need to bring law and order back to America, and we need money to do that. To my Republican colleagues in the House, I'm pulling for one big, beautiful bill, but there's a sense of urgency. I hope you will consider what we do if you cannot produce the one big, beautiful bill quickly.
Whoa!
To my colleagues, President Trump was right to run on the idea of mass deportations in response
big, beautiful
to mass
women.
illegal immigration. The number of people who crossed into this country legally in the last 4 years is in the probably over 10 million. And now the hard work of getting the criminals out of the country begins, securing the border and hiring the people necessary to make that happen. This bill will allow the money to be spent to make that happen. If we get this bill through the Senate and the House,
Oh my God, Lindsey Graham is boring
the
me.
money they need to finish the job we promised they would do. If we get this bill through the Senate and the House on the president's.
So Graham's message to House Republicans was pass this big, beautiful bill. I loved Horizon Zero Dawn. I didn't realize there's a whole set of mechanics to Horizon Zero Dawn that I didn't interact with that are kind of the heart of the game until about halfway through the game, and I'm like, oh shit, no wonder these fights were so hard. I wasn't interacting with the actual mechanics for fighting. Yeah, towards you'll like Horizon Zero Dawn then. action adventure RPGs. That's my thing. Congresswoman Stansberry from New Mexico, Representative Melanie Stansberry, has a message back to Republicans on fiscal responsibility.
You, Madam Chairwoman. Well, I never thought so many conspiracy theories and wild accusations could be wound into one 5-minute speech, but I appreciate my friends across the aisle. First of all, let's talk about this massive mandate that supposedly brought Donald Trump into office. Donald Trump did not run on putting an unelected billionaire in charge of dismantling the federal government. He ran on lowering prices for Americans. And I think it's interesting that while we're sitting here this morning, the top of the New York Times is reporting that inflation has risen unexpectedly as food and energy prices have soared. What's going on, guys? I thought you were going to tackle inflation and food and energy prices. Isn't that what the executive orders were supposed to do? Oh, wait. Or is dismantling diversity, equity, and inclusion in our federal agencies and putting an ideological agenda and trying to fire the federal workforce your actual agenda? Have you been too busy trying to actually address the fiscal health of this country? Because the numbers are telling us that you have. So let's be real about what's going on here. I also want to point out that literally while we've been sitting here for the last almost 2 hours getting lectured on fiscal responsibility, literally the Republicans just released their plan to raise the debt limit while we were sitting here. And they want to raise it by $4 trillion. Okay, guys, like literally, I'm just like without words. Inflation is going up. You want to raise the debt ceiling by $4 trillion. You want to gut Medicare. You want to gut Medicaid. You're talking about going after Social Security.
Is she a millennial? Like literally?
I mean, really, what the heck is going on here? We're not trying to take down Elon Musk as a businessman. This dude is literally breaking the law inside of the federal government. And for a party that is supposed to be the party of law and order, in quotes, I really do not see you holding him accountable and doing your most basic constitutional responsibility in the separation of powers.
She's a Gen Xer.
So, I want to end where I started. We are the Oversight Committee. We are the People's House for the United States of America. We represent the American people. And so, Mr. Elon Musk, if you would like to appear in front of the Oversight Committee, you have been duly invited. Please, come tell us what you're doing. Come testify in front of the American people. And please, come hold yourself to account. With that, I yield back.
She's sassy. Very good. She's probably around all her millennial staffers. And that's why she talks like that. Just throwing that out there. In the last couple of hours, a judge has allowed the federal buyout offer to be reinstated. The federal worker buyout offer reinstated.
I do want to take you out to some breaking news.
I kind of thought she looked like your mom. Very fuckable.
Right now, as the federal buyout is back on, as a judge has now cleared the way. I do want to put up some of these posts on social media about this from Fox 5 DC.
I'm horrible.
A federal judge cleared the way for President Donald Trump's deferred resignation program, the Fork in the Road program, aimed at downsizing the federal workforce. So the federal judge there moving it forward, pressing play on this initially paused kind of movement as a federal judge on Wednesday cleared the way for President Donald Trump's plan. The U.S. District Judge George O'Toole Jr. in Boston found a group of labor unions didn't have legal standing to challenge the program of course, commonly described as a buyout. So some big news as the President Donald Trump wants to use his financial incentives.
Okay, well, I was just trying to make the joke, fuck your mom, the kind of deal. But then, it sounded really sexist because it was also sexist towards the congresswoman. So I felt bad about it afterwards. I agree, Oregon gal. Because, I thought about it, and I was like, oh, God, that actually didn't sound all that good. But also, his mom is really cute.
To encourage government employees to quit. According to the White House, tens of thousands of workers have already taken the government up on its offer. This deferred resignation program has been spearheaded by Elon Musk, who is serving as Trump's top advisor for reducing federal spending. Under the plan, employees can stop working and get paid until September the 30th. Labor unions argued the plan is illegal and asked for O'Toole to keep it on hold and prevent the Office of Personnel Management from soliciting more workers to sign up. A Justice Department lawyer called the plan, quote,
"That's fucked up. He wants me to go get his mom's picture for you and show her off and ask if she's fuckable to the stream." That's my best friend for you. The answer is yes. Oh my God. I'm horrible. I'm sorry. Bernie Sanders was out in front of the Department of Education today. He's concerned about Elon making cuts to the DOE.
Senator Sanders!
With the DOGE.
Well, welcome to Sun Vermont weather.
I'm sure his mom washes her ass.
And let me concur with what Becky has said, but let me get to the point. Wash your ass. A lot of things that are happening in Washington right now, a lot of things coming out of the president's mouth, but I'll tell you what the fundamental issue is. What these guys, the oligarchs and the billionaires, want to do is cut program after program, including education, in order to give massive tax breaks to the very richest people in this country.
I don't think it's just tax breaks.
At a time when 60% of our people live paycheck to paycheck, when 800,000 are homeless, when people cannot afford health care, our message to them is simple. You are not going to give a dime in tax breaks to the richest people in this country. As Becky said, these oligarchs not only want to get more tax breaks, they want to privatize virtually every public service in this country. They want to privatize Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and the Veterans Administration and public education. They want to use taxpayer money to support private schools so that wealthy kids can get a discount.
Hey, Liberty Twink, you wanna talk some shit? Welcome in, my friend. You've barely been here before. That wasn't your first comment. I don't remember your handle, but welcome in. We like shit talking around here.
Now, we understand, as Becky said, that public education is the backbone of American democracy, where all of our people come together to learn and to grow. And our job is not to destroy public education, it is to significantly improve it.
I'm kind of fat. This shirt's a little small for me. That's why I have to keep pulling it down.
We do that. One way that we tell the world that in this country we understand the importance of education is to significantly raise teachers' salaries. It is absurd that 6 hedge funds
I mean, that's what Martin Luther King Jr. said, right? I want a world where someone is judged by the content of their character, not the size of their ass. I'm pretty sure that's the quote.
Managers on Wall Street earn more money than every kindergarten teacher in America combined. It is absurd that young people graduate college, want to be educators, they come in deeply in debt, they're making $35,000, $40,000 a year. No teacher in America should earn less than $60,000 a year. So not only are we going to stop the privatization of public education, we are not going to let them to destroy the Department of Education. Department of Educations provide funding for 26 million kids who are living in poverty areas all over this country. And we have the radical idea that maybe poor kids deserve the same quality education that rich kids do. That we're not going to turn our back on the black and the brown and Latino kids. That we're going to stand up for every kid in this country. Because we know that without a strong educational system, our democracy is going to be in trouble and our economy is going to be in trouble. So let me just conclude by thanking all of you sincerely. Being a teacher today is not an easy job. And it's not just teachers, it's your support staff as well. So let us go forward together and understand that in the richest country in the history of the world, we're not going to cut education. We're going to create the best educational system in the world. With your help, we're going to do it. Thank you.
We used to be pretty good, you know, back when we were a lot more socialist. The problem with funding schools is, like, here's the thing, is test scores correspond to funding. Schools in rich districts and affluent parts of town, because funding is tied to your zip code, like, they do really well. So it looks like we're spending all this money on education and getting bad results, but it's just because the other schools that are underfunded in rural areas of the country, I've seen them myself growing up in eastern Kentucky. The schools that I personally went to a really good high school that was built with coal severance tax dollars, but some of the schools around me, they were not the best facilities, and I can't imagine they produced, you know, the results that my school did. That we were one of the, you know, best schools in the state. So, you know, weird how that happens. We're gonna transition into the crime part of the show. We're gonna start off with the fact that apparently the FBI found thousands of records on JFK. Just magically found all these records that they didn't have before.
The FBI says it has new information about one of the United States' biggest mysteries. The Bureau says it has found 2,400 new records related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. This discovery comes as federal agencies work to comply with President Trump's executive order to release thousands of classified files. The documents are now making their way to the National Archives for the declassification process. So for more, I want to bring in Dr. Frederick Logoval. He's a professor of international affairs at the John F. Kennedy School of Government and professor of history at Harvard University. He's also writing a
I feel like that's a villain with a big head.
So wow, I'm sure you can't wait to see these documents. I mean, it's hard to understand.
Like a Marvel movie or some shit.
This is here. I guess my question to you is,
maybe it was DC.
What are you really hoping to learn?
Well, you know, I think it's just a stunning development. First, the president says we're going to release the 3,000 or so documents that we already knew about, those of us who work on this stuff. And then, as you point out, all of a sudden we have 2,400 more. So we're talking now about maybe 5,500 documents altogether. I think it's unlikely that we're going to get the so-called smoking gun in these documents. Although I tell my students, let's be, prepared to be surprised. But we will learn, I think, possibly valuable information, for example, about Lee Harvey Oswald's whereabouts in the 2 months or so prior to Dallas, and notably in Mexico City. What was he doing there? Who did he meet with? We know some of that. There could be more in these documents about Oswald.
And so it sounds to me like you're really honing in on all of the details you could learn that led up to this day that will really help you paint a picture and better understand it.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's less likely to me that we will see information perhaps about the 22nd of November itself, much less that we will see something earth-shattering in terms
Apparently, Representative Anna Paulina Luna believes that there are two shooters
have
now.
An accomplice perhaps or more. It's more, as you suggest,
It's part of that commission to declassify
what the
shit.
CIA knew and also other intelligence agencies knew in the lead up to Dallas. Did they lose the thread? Did they cooperate fully? If they lost the thread in some respect, you could see why they would be embarrassed and why this might contribute to the fact that for 6+ decades now,
He's a professor somewhere.
learned maybe as much as we might.
Oh, that's interesting. And as we know in a story like this, right, no detail.
They haven't put his name up in a bit.
Closely. But to your point, this kind of does raise some questions, perhaps, about what
I like his glasses.
Materials, documents, secrets might be
suspiciously perfect skin.
Agencies.
Well, it's a good point. I mean, why did it take
Frederick Lodgeville, a professor at Harvard University,
to this new tranche of documents? Hey, all of a sudden, 2,400 documents.
It was on screen for like 2 seconds.
The question, as you say, what might other agencies have that we don't know about?
I don't believe there's two shooters.
Skeptical.
You believe there's two shooters? Wait a minute, what?
In Dallas, but there could be useful information.
Have we never talked about this?
I think you said rightly. One of the most important developments in the modern history of the nation.
Professor
The
Slay.
assassination of John F. Kennedy.
Wow. Well, I hope that you'll come back on and talk to us once we can read through these documents, because I am really anxious to hear your insight.
Bill Hicks made a few good points, but there's information Bill Hicks didn't know at that time. It sounds good for comedy's sake, but it's not the truth. The ex-speaker of the Illinois State House, Michael Madigan, not to be confused with Michael Madsen, who died a couple of years ago. Michael Madigan was convicted on 10 counts, acquitted on 7.
News we've been covering all afternoon. The jury's verdict is in, bringing an end to the case against Mike Madigan.
Arguably the most powerful politician in Illinois over the last several decades. The former Speaker of the House now faces the possibility of serious prison time. Our Sabrina Franza has been covering the trial for months. Joins us now live to break down the jury's decision. Sabrina?
Joe, Erica, they listened to testimony over the course of 11 weeks.
Damn, she's got awesome hair.
11 days. Now a jury has found former Illinois House Speaker Mike Madigan guilty on 10 charges of bribery and corruption.
Now a convicted felon, former Illinois House Speaker Mike Madigan, who for years held one of the most powerful positions in state government, walks out of federal court.
Seriously, this might get him in the good graces of Trump.
Taking no questions. Inside, moments earlier, the former speaker was found guilty on 10 of 23 counts.
Michael Madsen is dead, unfortunately.
Guilty on counts of bribery, travel act, and wire fraud related to 2 of the 5 schemes the government spent 11 weeks trying to prove he committed. A jury found Madigan accepted bribes in the form of no-show jobs for his political allies in exchange for strengthening his own political power, in addition to seeking a state board position for former alderman turned government mole kill Danny Solis in exchange for his promise to steer developers to Madigan's private.
I do not think the reporter is a weasel.
Madigan was found not guilty on 7 other charges. The jury was deadlocked.
No. I know you mean
Count
Madsen.
1, an
Madigan.
racketeering conspiracy charge, and all charges against Madigan's co-defendant and longtime lobbyist Mike McLean.
My head is spinning, but I'm happy.
McLean was basically speaking on his behalf the majority of the time. It kind of was a straight shot at what Madigan had guilt in certain counts.
Jurors deliberated over 11 days before reaching this partial verdict.
It was nothing I was expecting, honestly. Truly, this is my first time ever doing jury duty. I wasn't expecting this at all.
Prosecutors consider the outcome a victory.
This is a historic conviction, which ranks high in the annals of criminal cases tried in this courtroom.
The U.S. Attorney's Office can still push for a retrial on the deadlocked counts, though they say they have not decided if they would yet.
The federal government, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the federal agencies are committing to use any and all lawful tools in our disposal to ferret out and root out corruption, no matter how refined it appears on its surface.
Seriously, you can put that hair on a shampoo bottle. I agree with PP Girl. How could this be fair? A jury of mannequins. What does this country come to? Like, that's some, like, VO5 looking shit.
Sentencing for Mike Madigan will be scheduled for a later date. Of the charges he's convicted of, some of them carry maximum sentences of 5 years, others 10 years, others 20. Ultimately, it will be up to the judge in this case to decide. We're live at the Dirksen Federal Building. Sabrina Franza, CBS News, Chicago.
Sabrina, thank you.
I have no idea what she said. I was just enjoying her hair. It was really nice. That's how you talk about a woman's hair. I was complimentary to her hair. I wasn't like, oh, is that your real hair, ma'am? I'm sorry. Mr. Spronk deserves a titty slap.
A titty slap! Give me those titties,
Come on now.
I mean, if you're just a worker, I would be miserable on the job too. I haven't really had real jobs, so I don't know, like, I guess doing when I was AV installs, it was the closest thing to like a real job. It was like structured and clocking in and doing manual labor. Still didn't really feel like a real job. I've always been in the broadcasting business, so I don't know. But like I would assume that, you know, being like just a mundane worker gets fucking boring as shit. But I don't know. Some people like their jobs. I don't know how the world works, and I'm a weirdo, so Grenade thrown into Grenoble bar injures 12. Officials say 6 people are in critical condition after the blast, where they do not believe it's terror related. It's a grenade being thrown into a bar, but not terror related grenade. Twelve people were wounded when a grenade was thrown into a bar in the city of Grenoble in southeastern France. The attacker entered the bar, which was packed with customers, and threw a grenade before fleeing without saying a word. Investigators have not yet identified a motive and did not believe it was a terrorist attack. Magistrate Christopher Barrett said the attacker appeared to be carrying a Kalashnikov-type rifle, but did not use it. The incident took place in the Olympic Village neighborhood, built when the city hosted the 1968 Winter Olympics. The wounded included 2 people in critical condition. I condemn in the strongest possible terms this criminal act of extraordinary violence. The local mayor, Ed Pioli said on Twitter, thanking the emergency services for their work. Police confirmed the explosion had been caused by a thrown grenade. So I think that was like, nighttime for France, which was like our afternoon. We don't really have a lot of details on what happened. Yeah, the fact that they don't believe it's a terror attack is weird. How can you rule that out this early? This is the follow-up on the dude who was a reporter from Kansas City who was in New Orleans covering the Super Bowl. They found him dead. A woman was charged with using his credit cards.
Release a new photo showing Kansas City sports reporter Adon Manzano. It shows him with Danette Colbert together at his Kenner Hotel before his death. Manzano's toxicology results are pending, but Kenner police are investigating the possibility that Colbert drugged him.
And now a previous victim of Colbert tells Chris Welty he feels a sense of guilt in Manzano's death.
November 5th, 2021. David Butler leaves his renovation project and heads to the French Quarter for a drink to unwind. While out, he says he met Danette Colbert and another person around 1 the next morning.
They were just standing kind of around outside talking with some other people and asked me if I wanted to go in and have a drink, and I was like, sure.
Butler says he left his first drink on the table when he went to order a second round.
When I started on my second drink, I started feeling very strange just within a matter of minutes, woozy. I felt like the world around me was just going dark, and I knew that there was something really wrong.
Butler says he knew he needed to get home. He says Colbert followed him out and offered him a ride. He says she loaded him into an SUV.
At that point, my decision-making abilities were significantly impaired.
Butler says the next day his cell phone and wallet were missing. Despite feeling drugged, Butler did not go to the hospital. Instead, he began checking his finances.
There were multiple emails that showed cryptocurrency funds were transferred out of my bank account.
Cryptocurrency.
Later learned that Danette had used my biometrics to access my iPhone whenever I was incapacitated. That's how she unlocked the phone.
Butler says Colbert stole a total of $134,000, some from his retirement account, the rest through credit card charges. Butler says the funds went to a crypto account with a unique username, which led him to a public Facebook page. Butler then contacted NOPD.
When I met with Miss Colbert and her associate, there was no mention of prostitution. There was nothing that seemed inappropriate or out of the ordinary in that realm.
Eventually, Colbert was caught, and last October, a jury found her guilty of theft.
I'm going to assume by this picture that whatever hair she had on, the police took off. And she didn't have her real hair going.
A jury found her guilty of theft.
We've had a theme tonight.
And illegal transmission of monetary funds. Colbert escaped jail time when Orleans criminal court judge Nandy Campbell suspended Colbert's sentence, granting her probation, and ordered her to pay restitution. Butler says he pushed for jail time and wrote Judge Campbell expressing dismay at Colbert's lenient sentence. Butler read part of his letter.
Why was someone with such a history of endangering lives given yet another chance? If someone dies due to her actions in the future, their blood will undeniably be on the hands of those who allowed her to escape real accountability today.
According to Kenner police, Colbert was booked on similar charges in Vegas and Jefferson Parish.
That poor woman.
Legal analyst Joe Raspani says it's unclear if the judge knew Colbert's criminal history before sentencing.
That picture without her hair.
Acted appropriately. They went to trial. The jury found her guilty of a misdemeanor theft and a low-level felony computer fraud. The judge did not sentence
Tyler X, welcome in.
Sentence based upon what the jury of her peers found her guilty of.
Kenner police also say Colbert may be connected to a December 2024 death at a French Quarter hotel. Butler believes if Colbert were behind bars, Kansas City sports reporter Adon Manzano might be alive.
She might have killed somebody else.
Guilt, because I did everything I feel like I could have done to try to get her put away, and it didn't happen.
Orleans criminal court judge Nandy Campbell did not respond to our request for comment. Orleans Parish District Attorney Jason Williams also declined comment. Tomorrow, a judge will hear the Orleans DA's motion to revoke Colbert's probation. Right now, she's held in Jefferson Parish.
Since Tyler is here, we need to smoke up. I was just talking to Paradigm Shift about how we were talking about getting together with Jason Society. Driver, good evening. Since you're here, it's time for us to smoke some weed. Trolls, if you're not familiar with me, I'm JustinFREAKIN. We find out what that news be doing Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Here's a song about me. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN.
All we're establishing is this guy's wicked sick aesthetic.
Not high enough for this shit.
I guess I gotta thank Matt Walsh for introducing me to JustinFREAKIN.
Hey there, y'all. We're about to get stupid, locked into what that news be doing. Fu Manchu and a slick bandana, colder than ice, smoother than Santana. Audio, video, chat and calls, right-wing nut jobs haunt the halls. What you wanna watch? Hey, what you think? And there's only one choice. It's JustinFREAKIN.
The guy's, he's a formidable voice in the call.
Light one up and tip one back. It's a right to be high. Let's grab a snack. It's fucking dudes, quit panic, attack, and play your cards right and get a titty slap. Jump in Discords, have some fun. The man will talk to everyone. Get high and try to debate. When shit pops off, chat thinks it's great. What do you think you're doing? Join the troll patrol. Wherever discourse is brewing, he gives it that southern drawl.
So let's go ahead and bring in Justin. Hey Justin, how's it going, brother?
First of all, I want to say you're poser South. I'm in Alabama. I'm the real South.
Okay, all right. So why don't you tell us what it takes to be a man?
Well, I don't know. I'm in Alabama and I'll fuck a man in a dress. Why won't you fuck a man in a dress? Are you that insecure that you won't fuck a man in a dress?
That's fantastic. So you're okay with that, right?
Yeah. Why wouldn't I?
Good.
Right-wingers are morons.
Light one hit and hit one back. One more click before we hit the set. Set an alert when that shit goes live. Social fucking support and hit subscribe. Light one up and take a hit. He does no harm, but he takes no shit. He's the last one standing when the ship is sinking. Let's take another rip for JustinFREAKIN.
Light one up, tip one back. I'm JustinFREAKIN.
Not high enough for this shit.
Y'all heard the lady. Smoke it. I went to the weed store this morning. I bought some of their top shelf. And then I got some concentrate. So I got some concentrate inside of this bowl. So I just kind of burn the weed around it and then burn it with it. I need to get myself a dab rig. I was actually looking at them earlier. I might invest in a dab rig now. I don't remember what it was called. I was just like, have you got some concentrate? And he's like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, give it to me. It was expensive. Some of the most expensive I've ever bought. It was like $30 a gram. Usually it's $20 a gram. Yeah, dropping a little dab on your bowl. It's fun. That's what I'd be doing, but like, I almost got as much concentrate as I got weed, so I should probably have a proper smoking utensil for it. I like flour too, Julie. That's my thing. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I like to smoke the flower. T-minus, did I tell you good evening? How are you, my friend? Let's, we're gonna go to Boston, check in with the proceedings in the Karen Reed. It was a mistrial. It looks like the state is going to try her again. She was accused of killing her cop boyfriend, and I'm totally into her.
Ben, these revelations come as both sides are facing deadlines this week.
On her
set by
side.
the judge for pretrial motions. Essentially what's happening is both sides are trying to control what evidence the jury will see and hear at Reed's second trial. After John O'Keefe didn't come home that night in January of 2022, Karen Reed says she pulled her SUV out of their driveway and went to look for him.
The portion of this video in the still shot presented identifies a missing, damaged rear right taillight.
Prosecutors say the taillight is damaged because hours earlier, Reed had backed into O'Keefe and left him to die. But the defense says the taillight was damaged because while backing out of the driveway, Reed's SUV bumped O'Keefe's parked vehicle. Now, the defense wants to send one of its experts to the home where the O'Keefe family still lives to take pictures and measurements and make a 3D scan of the area. They say the process should take about 2 hours. Meanwhile, the defense has revealed another text message written by Trooper Michael Proctor. Proctor had already written insulting messages about Reed while investigating her for O'Keefe's death. Now, Reed's attorneys say that on the last day of Reed's first trial, Proctor sent a text message to a prosecutor about Reed's attorney, Alan Jackson. That message says, yeah, didn't watch Expletive Jackson's closing argument for good reason. Like all of us, the anticipation and anxiety of verdict has us all on edge. Reed's lawyers say this message suggests that Proctor had been watching other parts of the trial, which would have been in defiance of the judge's order for all witnesses to stay away from trial coverage. The defense says that might have let Proctor or other witnesses change their stories. And as a result, the defense says this time it wants to keep certain pieces of evidence secret from the prosecution until after the second trial begins. Michael Proctor is already on suspension, and the state police are holding hearings to determine if he should face additional punishment, including possibly being fired. Live in the newsroom, David Bieniek, WCVB News Center 5.
David Bieniek. Yeah, let's do this one before we get to the next one. Cops use AirPods to catch suspects accused of stealing a car.
Cops are on the hunt for a stolen car. They find it parked at a shopping center. The suspected thieves still inside.
Driver of the vehicle, step out and face away from us. Keep coming, keep coming.
Suspect number 1 is taken into custody. Suspect number 2 is also nabbed.
All right, hands up, walk backwards.
But there's a unique twist as to how police found the stolen car. It was detective work by the car's owner, Catherine Blaine.
When I saw the car was gone, I was like, there is a 0% chance I'm ever getting it back.
But then she remembered she'd left her AirPod case inside her car's center console when she went jogging and returned to find her car missing.
Car was gone, AirPods in hand, and I realized my AirPods case is still in the car. And so I pulled up the Find My app.
Using the Find My app on her phone, Catherine could track the location of her AirPods in real time so she could let police know exactly where her car was. Her car was stolen in Venice Beach, California.
Well,
the app showed it was 50 miles away in Irvine.
Technology helped us out in a very big way, and we were able to get this vehicle back to the victim the very same day it was taken, which is miraculous.
5 hours after the car was stolen, she had it back with one big change. Police say somehow the suspects found the time to paint her entire bumper bright blue.
It's back, so it could be worse.
One suspect is not guilty. The other is being arraigned next month.
Well, hold on. So now, can you imagine if it was the entire thing was that color? It's kind of cute. I think I kind of like it better, that blue color, than the black. I think he might have been onto something. He just didn't have time to pull off the whole paint job. Actually, looks like they did a good job on the bumper. Look at that. It's smooth. It's not splotchy or anything. Wow. We've got video of a flight attendant punching a passenger. Apparently the passenger was being unruly towards another passenger. So I think they had it coming.
Disturbing moments on board this Alaska Airlines flight as a passenger appears to lose control. A flight attendant jumping in to subdue the man, at times punching him, trying to get the passenger to release the hair of 32-year-old Erica Ramos sitting in front of him.
I told him her hair, sir. I really wasn't sure what was happening in that moment. I was afraid that this person was going to start punching me.
Erica escaping the seat and the flight attendant calling for backup. Erica says the attack caused painful swelling and she's still getting headaches 9 days later.
There was a moment where we actually see your face in that video turn around and look at him. What were you thinking, and did you say anything to him?
I did not say anything to him. I think I was just really in shock. From my understanding of things, he was having a psychotic episode, and I didn't necessarily want to interact with him and possibly make things worse.
The plane, still on the ground, was scheduled to fly to Portland, Oregon from Oakland, California on February 1st, but after the chaotic ordeal, it was forced to return to its gate so authorities could intervene.
It's not every day that you see flight attendants throwing punches to try to subdue an unruly passenger. Was that the right move there?
The flight attendant who had to respond to this took the immediate actions that you would take if you were able to take the crew member self-defense training. We're in a confined space. We cannot call for help. There's no other way to do this. And there was imminent danger here. And so the passenger needed to have action against them in order to stop what they were doing in severely harming another passenger.
Alaska Airlines telling NBC News in part that the man appeared to be experiencing a violent medical episode that involved an ongoing physical assault against other passengers and our crew. Our crew responded to the chaotic situation quickly and kept all guests safe, adding that the man has been banned from future flights. The airline has found itself at the center of increased public scrutiny recently after multiple high-profile incidents. It was an Alaska Airlines flight last January that had its door plug blow off the fuselage of a Boeing 737 MAX 9 midair. At the time, the airline saying incidents like this are rare and the passengers and crew landed safely. And in 2023, an off-duty Alaska Airlines pilot attempted to disengage the engines of a plane mid-flight. That pilot later telling investigators he had recently taken magic mushrooms.
Oh, shit.
Resolving relatively quickly, but
I don't think I knew the magic mushrooms part.
As flying continues to drive many to the breaking point.
Dana Griffin joins us from Los Angeles. I think all of us would be at the breaking point if that happened to us. Dana, what else did you hear from that passenger you spoke to about what led up to the
Alien, good evening.
Yeah, well, Tom, Erica Ramos says that before the plane even left the gate, that passenger was overly chatty at first, then started hyperventilating and hitting his head on the back of her seat.
He's got some awesome hair.
He lost consciousness at one point, but once he regained it, that's when he grabbed her hair. She says she never spoke to him before or after the incident, and according to Alaska
pilot,
Airlines,
apparently,
that flight was ultimately canceled because one flight attendant, not the one in that video, determined that they were unfit to continue, and that is a safety call flight attendants can make if they've experienced mental or physical trauma, because they've got to be fully present in order to do their jobs. And Tom, as you just saw, sometimes it requires them to get physical.
Yeah, we've seen a lot on airplanes. I don't know if we've ever seen anything like that. Okay, Dana Griffin, we thank you for that.
Thanks for watching. Stay up.
Shut up, Lester.
News and top.
My experience flying wasn't boring. Because remember, like, I haven't flown since high school. My first time I ever fingered a girl was on a flight. Certainly not boring for me. I mean, what else are you gonna do on a flight? Apparently take some mushrooms as you're piloting the plane. Remember that truck that fell into a sinkhole? It was found in a pipe weeks after falling in. A truck cabin that was swallowed by a sinkhole in Japan 2 weeks ago has been located in a nearby sewer pipe. The drone images suggest that a human body is inside the cabin, but it's unclear. The truck or the pussy? Now I'm completely. I need more pot. Light one up, tip one back. The sinkhole, which now measures 40 meters, is 131 feet for you American bastards, opened at a road intersection in Yashio City near Tokyo, is believed to be caused by a sewer rupture. Search teams are unable to enter the 5 millimeter wide pipe due to continuous water flow and high levels of hydrogen sulfide or sewer gas. They will need to install. That's a hell of a way to die. Getting sucked into a sinkhole pipe and dying of sewer gas. That process could take 3 months. While rescuers were able to pull the truck's loading platform from the sinkhole, they were unable to reach the cabin which had the driver. The driver was unable to communicate with the rescuers shortly after he fell into the sinkhole on the 28th of January, but contact was lost with as the truck was buried deeper in soil and debris. On Sunday, authorities moved their search from the sinkhole to the nearby sewer pipe where part of the driver's seat was found. BBC didn't have enough pictures. Jesus, it was so much crazier. Yeah, sinkhole in Japan. This was video of it originally, like it's grown since.
Rescuers in Japan are trying to pull out a truck driver who has been trapped inside a sinkhole for days. The pool-sized sinkhole appeared in Yashio City near Tokyo on Tuesday and swallowed up the truck. Emergency crews managed to remove a part of the vehicle, but the driver's cabin remains buried under soil and debris. According to local media, the 74-year-old driver was last heard responding to rescuers on Tuesday afternoon. Officials think the sinkhole was caused by an underground sewage pipe rupturing and that wastewater from the damaged pipe caused a second sinkhole to appear. The road then collapsed further, merging the two sinkholes together to become a 20-meter wide crater, further complicating the rescue operation.
Areas. Officials also issuing evacuation warnings with the heaviest rain yet to come.
Eyewitness News reporter Michelle Fisher joins us live from Pacific Palisades with how residents there are preparing. Michelle?
Yeah, well, Ellen, it's dry here right now, but we certainly know that is expected to change over the next 24 hours. And one of the areas of concern is actually here behind us, Will Rogers State Park. We're on Sunset Boulevard now. It has preparations happening
Well, it's
here
exactly a month since they had to evacuate for fire
this afternoon. As a steady drizzle fell Wednesday afternoon, storm preparations continued across Pacific Palisades ahead of the heavy rain forecasted for Thursday. This public works crew, one of several along Sunset Boulevard near Will Rogers State Park Road, where K-rails and sandbags lined the charred hillsides.
You're worried about the debris flow. PCH with those hills coming down, wherever in the hills the fires were.
I don't think my worrying's going to help much, so we're just going to deal with it as it comes.
But before the storm comes, evacuation warnings for possible post-fire debris flows starting at 7 a.m. Thursday went out this afternoon. Residents across the Palisades burn area impacted, including portions of the Highlands, Bienvenida, Reseda Boulevard, Mandeville Canyon, and near the Getty Villa, where steel plates had been installed to reinforce the hillside along PCH.
You know, we obviously haven't been able to move all the debris, and the idea of the rain and then the scarring on the hillsides. So I'm concerned about mudslides throughout the city, because this is going to impact the whole city, but debris flows when it comes to the Palisades.
In neighboring Malibu, schools will be closed Thursday. An email to families saying, with ongoing and planned road closures, we have made the difficult decision to have all 4 Malibu schools closed on Thursday, February 13th, and possibly February 14th. This includes Webster Elementary, Malibu Middle, and Malibu High Schools. So even before the heavy rain starts, this storm really having a wide impact on a lot of people. Now, there is still time to prepare. For those looking for sandbags, you can visit lacity.gov for the city locations, and for the county, it's dpw.lacounty.gov. We are live in Pacific Palisades tonight. I'm Michelle Fisher, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Michelle, thank you. The Los Angeles Fire Department has issued evacuation warnings for recent burn scar areas. Those warnings will be in effect from 7 a.m. tomorrow through 2 p.m. Friday. And take a look at this map, and you see the Getty Villa area, Highlands near the burned areas, Bienvenida area near Temescal Canyon Park, Reseda Boulevard area, Marinette Road near Will Rogers State Park, and Mandeville Canyon above Tanner's Road. Again, the warnings are due to possible debris flow. Houses in the warning area with high risk will be visited by LAPD to issue specific evacuation orders. And evacuation warnings in effect tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. in the Sunset Fire area. That includes this yellow area on the map that you see here, which is
at least it's just a warning,
and south of Runyon Canyon. So if you're in those areas, you should be prepared for possible evacuations due to the storm.
A lot of the country going to be facing a winter storm, so hopefully you have someone to cuddle with for Valentine's Day, or perhaps you're just going to be with me watching television specials. Shut up, Lester.
Maggie Vespa joining us now live from Chicago. Maggie, this is likely to be the city's biggest snowstorm of the season.
Yeah, Lester, that's right. Certain areas could see up to 8 inches, which would clobber snowfall totals so far.
I have 3, and they've been
this
stuck
same
to
system
me.
we're now seeing reports is being blamed for knocking out power for more than 100,000 people in Virginia. All this amid a relentless week of severe weather.
Tonight, a parade of paralyzing winter storms marches on, with the second of 3 monster systems now burying parts of the Great Plains and upper Midwest in up to 10 inches of snow. Kansas City seeing nearly half a foot overnight. Farther south, new video shows a confirmed tornado on the ground near Columbia, Mississippi, and heavy rains flooding roads in Alabama. In all, 75 million Americans are under winter alerts from the Rocky Mountains to Maine.
Yeah, this definitely feels like the most this winter.
I didn't know snow could fall that fast.
You didn't know snow could fall that fast?
Same. I was like, whoa. I was like, oh my God.
Roads and highways across several states a mess, with wrecks piling up and drivers stranded.
I slid and wobbled twice.
Wobble.
Slowed down drastically.
Dougie, good evening.
Chicago O'Hare Wednesday, crews raced to de-ice planes. Thousands of flights delayed or canceled nationwide. This after yesterday, a deluge of snow and ice slammed parts of the mid-Atlantic and East Coast, with parts of Virginia seeing up to 14 inches. Down in Florida, authorities confirmed this EF1 tornado left multiple people injured. While out west, this Oregon school's roof collapsing under officials say 700,000 pounds of snow. Around Philadelphia, Eagles fans digging out before Friday's Super Bowl parade.
We can have a blizzard, a hurricane, it doesn't matter. As long as we have this parade on Friday, I don't care.
Wintry chaos unfolding coast to coast with another severe system already taking shape. Maggie Vespa, NBC News, Chicago.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated.
Shut up, Lester.
News and top stories.
So we're supposed to have more storms? I'm not seeing like a forecast.
The East Coast getting a second round of even more snow as people out west prepare for heavy rain. Tim Pulliam has our coverage tonight.
Along the East Coast, people are digging out from snow and ice covered roads with more on the way.
Yeah, we get more?
To DC to southern New Jersey, some areas got more than 14 inches of snow.
The roads are actually not bad. It's the sidewalks and the potholes you can't see when they're covered with snow. So that's what makes it a little bit more dangerous.
Down power lines and trees causing problems just outside of Richmond, Virginia. Heavy snow paralyzing the roads. With more than 800 accidents reported, Virginia's governor declaring a state of emergency. 2 storms marching across the country. From California to Maine, at least 40 states are under alert for flooding, snow, and ice. Plow and salt trucks out on the roads in Naperville, Illinois. In Des Moines, Iowa, watch as people try to drive in whiteout conditions. City buses in Cedar Rapids keeping
that wasn't whiteout conditions.
They don't have the luxury necessarily of being able to stay at home on a bad weather event like this. So we know we have a responsibility to the public and those that are dependent on our service to provide the service in a safe and
DJ, good evening.
Even during snow events.
In
Getting DP'd in Toronto.
Rescue as firefighters free this dog from freezing waters. It's not the cold and snow, but heavy rain causing concerns from the Bay Area to Southern California as communities still recover from destructive wildfires. Concrete barriers in place along roadways and people sandbagging their properties to prevent mud and debris flows.
We're now experiencing our 3rd storm with the most intense projected rains this week. And so we are asking everyone to stay on alert.
And here in California, the San Francisco Bay Area and parts of LA are under a flood watch. Some areas could see 5 to 10 inches of rain. Tim Pulliam, ABC News, Los Angeles.
I got 5 to 10 inches for you. Socks, leave me alone. Not giving me what I want here. Alright, I'm going to show you a town. This happened a few years ago. This is a town in South America somewhere. Argentina. I got you a town in Argentina that was overrun by capybaras. I feel like there's worse problems to have. Is that a capybara shitting in the yard? No, go back. No. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people wouldn't complain about this. What are you doing? Why is your tail fluffy? They're bothering me, but I fed them whenever I went and refilled my drink and everything. I fed the cats. Oh, nobody wants to see Congress. Capybaras. Oh my god, I wouldn't even think of eating a capybara. Wonder if they were tasty. Because I hadn't thought about it, genuinely. Oh shit, that was so cute. But it'd be tasty on a little stick. Don't they cook things like this in Argentina? Like they do guinea pigs. I'm not responsible for what you people say. If you're watching on Twitch, you're heading over to Echoplex Media. Nobody wants you. It's the intellectual Dollar Tree. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's alright to have a little fun before we hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol, live.